The Beef and Barnzy Show, brought to you by Bowlersmart.com, trusted by bowlers around the world since 2004. By Lightning Strikes Bowl, home of Bowlers Mart Pro Shop. By Platinum Ford, drive the difference. By Fire Lake Bowling Center, 24 state-of-the-art lanes. By True Grit Coatings, drive on our passion. By Road to Grip, king of them all. By 900 Global, striking worldwide.
Good morning and welcome back to the Beef and Barnzy Show. Coming to you live from Las Vegas and Pflugerville / Austin, Texas. I am
back together.
Barnzy, joined by the inimitable Beef Stew. How are you?
The dynamic duo is back. Oh, dear.
Yeah.
It's been a minute.
It's not easy to do out here.
I know. Travis. No, I haven't compared it to the Phase AI. But I can tell you without comparing it to the Phase I, it's nothing like the Phase AI.
Yeah.
And then IQ AI, I guess would be more in the ballpark, but no, a much stronger cover on the Ion Pro Solid. So we'll get to it in a minute. Mr. Hendershot, greetings back to you. Nico, nice to see you. Yep, there was some pretty entertaining bowling going on the ladies' tour. Nico's got jokes this morning. Chris Barnes, special guest. I should have actually advertised it. Chris is back on the thing. Dan.
When I went on vacation and then got sick when I got back. I haven't thrown a ball in 3 weeks. I've got a bowl on a sport shot league tonight. Wish me luck.
I have to bowl sport shot as well. And for those of you who've watched the show from the beginning, you'll understand my feelings on Sport League. The most pointless thing ever. But I digress. I hate Sport League with a white-hot passion. I only bowl it because Tina loves it, because all the people who beat her brains in all season, Tina's average only changes a little bit, and theirs changes by like 30 pins. So she gets to laugh at being better than them all summer. But yes, Sport League, for me, is the worst. We got a couple of people asking about nationals. Was team as hard as everyone says it is?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
we just bowled last week, and I guess we can get into this. It's the one part I can contribute to the show today. We had a decent, we have a pretty good group here of guys with Paul Henderson and local Greg Snee there in Baton Rouge, and Joe Finling, and I was probably the one that made the biggest mistake. I think it's pretty simple what has to be done, because the pattern's flat. You need to change it to make it any good. And so urethane at 7, 8, 9 was definitely the play. They got better by game 2. We had a few guys that stayed in it for 2 games, but they didn't shoot a lot. I bowled so bad game 1 that I got into a rock star and went 13 to 8, shot 250, and then they got a little chopped up, and I missed some shots and shot 220 the last game, but they were playable. But that first game, trying to do anything else besides urethane, they were really, really hard, and so they weren't even great with urethane. But we went 9-20 the first game for 30 for 80 over. So basically 1080 back to back to because I think we actually might have shot 9-10 the first game. So
yeah, I think that the pattern is tough enough that I don't truly believe there's exactly a perfect answer for everybody. I think it really depends on your situation. I am starting to believe that I underestimated the opportunity or overestimated the opportunity for score on singles and doubles because I thought singles and doubles was so simple, like what you had to do. And then I'm watching the videos of some of like people who I think are really good bowlers and they're bowling the singles. And I'm like, how the fuck are you there? Like, and it's like I had this conversation with Chris about it. If we go back, we've probably told this story a couple of times, but Chris watched me bowl the World Championships in Vegas, and he said, after 4 games, he said, I don't know what happened the first 3 for you to think that's a good idea. And that's what I felt about quite a few of the things that
Right.
people have been doing. Like, because for me, it's just like so simple. Like, just play to the right, follow it in a little bit, like maybe have one ball change to a slightly quicker ball, and it's there. And I left feeling not as disappointed as last year because in my mind, Cassidy's 21.58 had almost zero chance of being the winning score. And I didn't feel like I could have got a lot more than that. I felt like I should have beaten that score, but I didn't feel like I could have beaten that score by like 50.
Yeah, you leave 100 out there.
And like absolutely nobody's got close to it. And I went there almost a month ago.
Yeah, the thing with I thought for double and singles is yes, you play out, and they are easy out. The biggest choice was basically whether to throw it. The one lane didn't hook off 2-3 the same way.
Yeah,
and so you had to play a little left of that. But we had 5 guys with decent rev rate, and we were all piled up on that same spot. And so we
and I can see
in the front, and that made carry tricky.
I can see how rev rate could make it bad.
It didn't. Bad would be really overstating it, but they are tight down lane, and so you want to throw a bigger ball to kind of blend out. We just made them wet dry is all we really did.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like for me, because I was the only one kind of controlling the pattern where I was, I went from, I think, like the 7th frame of game 1 to like maybe it might have been like frame 7 of game 6 without getting less than 9.
Yeah.
Like it was just so simple. Hitting the pocket was just a given. But obviously that's just, I guess I was in a good situation with the people I bowled with, and it didn't really cause me too much issues because now, like, I was totally convinced that Chad Gloss's team had bowled fantastic, but they weren't going to keep the lead because I just felt like, how hard can it be to get a group of 5 guys? Just like there's a bunch of these teams, and like Team All Events is like one of the funny events to me because it's the hardest to win while being absolutely by far and away the easiest to win. Because you've got to get 5 guys to bowl well, but you've literally only bowling against 20 teams.
Yeah.
Like maybe 50, because there isn't like the group I go with, we have no chance of ever winning Team All Events. No matter what I bowl, we're not going to win Team All Events. Like the group you go with is probably just on the cusp of it. Like if you had a really good, lots of things went well.
Yeah, we have a chance, but we're around the 10th most years in team event. This year, Paulie and I both had horrific games in there, and nobody really. Our high set was Greg Snee. He shot 640 clean.
Yeah,
so
that should pay him a couple of bucks. But
yeah,
but that's all I'm saying. Like the Team All Events one to me is just like. The hardest part of winning Team All Events is recruiting the 5 guys that are all good bowlers that fit within the rules.
Yeah.
Like, because there's just winning singles is like really difficult because you literally anybody could bowl one good 3-game set. I mean, it's like, whatever. It is what it is. I'm just surprised. And like a lot of the good teams have gone through now. Like the teams who typically compete for that prize. So, I mean, good luck to Chad. I think he's a good dude. He's always been nice to me. him and Mitch Beasley in their group. So
Yeah, that team always bowls well. They're a top 10 team every year, and they have a plan and they stick to it pretty well.
Yeah.
The night before we bowled, EJ, Zach Tackett, Sean, and Ronnie Russell were all bowling, and on the same squad. EJ was playing 23 at singles.
Yes,
and after bowling, like, in what world? Like, I threw an XL with surface still in game 6, and I had to throw it really slow to play 17.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
yeah.
I was in my happy spot with my Equinox, and it started burning up in the front, like towards the end, and then I got the problem of them being a little cliffed. But I mean, I probably got to close to 18, 19. So the one who really surprised me actually was Sean. Because he didn't bowl very well at all, and he bowled with his wife. So I can't imagine that the other 4 people on the pair had prodigious rev rate to cause him issues. And he bowled like 620, 630 or something. And Sean bowls well at nationals a lot.
Yeah, I couldn't say. He didn't look particularly healthy, if I was to guess. But that could have, by then it could have been how much he cared, because it was the end of singles. But he was only at 16, 17. He didn't have much hold.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
But anyway,
let's get on with the part of the show that people actually came for. But good question, Eli. Nico did ask a slightly mean question that we could get to a little later. So how's your season going so far?
Yeah, I would put it this way. Of my 4 worst weeks on the senior tour in 4 years, 3 of them were the last 3.
See, I would have put it another way. Nico, I know you look at the results. Fuck off.
Yeah. Yeah. I've gone to more reverse and some other things in the thumb. I am now back to the same pitches I used since like 1989, basically. So finishing all that stuff up this week. Well, today, actually.
Let's ask the chat. Let's ask the chat. Which you want to start with? Do you want to start having a look at High Road 40, or do we want to start having a look at Ion Pro? For me, I think that Ion Pro is probably going to be the more popular, but I do feel like High Road 40 is going to be the one that's actually a kind of more unique reaction in the bag. Alan says hi. You're welcome. So looks like we've got a few Ion Pro.
Right.
So we're gonna go with Ion Pro.
Looks like a piranha.
or a Blue Hammer, original Blue Hammer.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Nico says, I'm kind of disappointed they didn't call Ion Pro Max for Chris. That's already in the marketplace. They understand that, though. That would just confuse people.
Yeah, that would allude to another ball.
So these are mainly the shots from the video I did. So if you want to go, I did a game. I went old school. I did a game versus game. The Ion Pro Solid. It's got way too many names against the High Road 40. It was actually a little quicker than I thought this Ion was going to be. I was in the video. I wasn't really that prepared. Shock. And I forgot. I was thinking this was a new cover, but this is actually phase 2 cover, shiny. So kind of made a little more sense. For me, it seemed like because it comes shiny, it was cleaner than the original Ion Pro, and we'll see that in a minute in this comparison. But I felt like it kept its motion a little better than the Ion Pro does. I feel like for me, everybody who isn't named Andrew Anderson, when you try to make the Ion Pro hook a lot, it kind of it kind of stops down lane a
It's
little
a little
bit. Like,
forward,
yeah,
locks up
because
a little bit.
it's kind of
That's a
quick off
pretty
the.
common sentiment.
Sorry.
That's a pretty common sentiment, asking
Yeah.
around.
I feel like it's just a little too quick. And then you get kind of that. Like that was almost exactly what we were describing. Whereas this on pretty much the same line, didn't quite get as far right, but I just feel like that's because the cover's got a bit of a bigger footprint. Like I say, for me, it's just the main difference I see is it's more continuous. I think it's maybe a little more responsive than the Ion Pro is, but that might just be because it's shiny. I didn't really get a chance to do a deep dive and really take all the surface off.
You can see here, yeah. I mean, how much smoother your Ion Pro is down lane versus the blue Ion.
Yeah, it's just and it's very usable. I feel like Ion Pro, from what I've seen so far, is going to be a better fresh option. Now, like I say, that might be a lot to do with the fact that it comes out the box dull. But I feel like the Ion Pro Solid, or let's just say the Ion Solid, just because I don't want to do three names for a fucking ball. So the Ion Solid for me is a little too responsive to use on the fresh from what I've seen. I feel like if I got enough oil that I could use it on the fresh, I would be in like a stronger ball. Does that kind of make sense, Chris? Like if there was enough oil for it to like kind of be able to be controllable down lane, I feel like I'd probably want to have something that was a little earlier, like the XL.
Yeah, you're talking about the Ion Pro?
No, the Ion Solid.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like on the fresh, it's just a little bit too responsive, and it would need a little more oil to slow it down. And if I had that more oil, I'd probably want more flare. So, where I've seen it to be really good, in the small chance I've used it, this weekend we were in Houston, and once I got pretty far in, and the lane was like, needed to be transitioned a little bit, I felt like it was really good off that. Like I could kind of use my hand and really roll it off the dry, and it would kind of, control that spot. So yes, this is exactly, yeah. And I in team event at State this weekend. Shout out to Texas State, by the way, because they helped us out a ton, because we had a set of squads that was impossible to make. I guess when they booked it, they was thinking they were going to have 4 on a pair for singles and doubles, and it turned out they had so much demand that they went to 6 on a pair. And when they went to 6 on a pair, we couldn't get to the other bowling center in time to bowl. So they held some lanes for us to be able to get over there and just start when we got there. Now, unfortunately, that meant we couldn't get in brackets, and our group absolutely bombed them. One of our teams took the lead, 30-47, Chris, for 4-man team.
Oh. Well, now?
That's a lot. Game 2, they had 299, 299, 227, and the guy had a chance, Tony Buss had a chance for the back 11 for 277, and he spared for 256, so they bowled 1080. Whoa, they had a lot of strikes. I mean, like, wow. But anyway, I used the high road 40 on the one lane, but on the other lane, the dry was too responsive, and I went to the Ion Solid, and it just blended everything out, and it was perfect. So, somebody says it's similar to the Hustle Rip. It is so far away from the Hustle Rip, bro. Like,
yeah,
I mean,
it's a lot stronger cover.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and it's more core. It's like there's probably 10 balls in between. I don't think it's as responsive as the Hustle Rip either. The Hustle Rip is really sideways. But yeah. So, overall, where do I see this fitting in the bag? To me, it's going to be just, it's going to be kind of the option when I'm using XL, and that's starting to get a little lazy. I think this is going to be a good option off it, especially if I'm leaving it shiny. So that's kind of where I'm going to see it. Like, it'll give me a different option to go into like Equinox or Attention Star, which are obviously that like cleaner, really bang off it. This is going to be kind of a bit more like that sort of XL shape, just like a little cleaner, a little more responsive. Whereas the next jump is quite a bit more responsive. So I think it's an interesting piece. I think the thing that's cool about it is we don't necessarily have a ball that has that shape, and that's always more useful. I think, when the balls come out, Chris, it's like
Right.
it doesn't
It's
have
kind
to
of on top
be.
of 3 others.
Yes, it doesn't have to be the ball shape you're going to use every single day, but it's nice when it's a ball shape that is different from the ones you have, because obviously when the other ones aren't working, and that's kind of what I felt about the the original Ion Pro. I kind of like it because it's so different from the other balls we have. Like when I'm struggling, it's one of the balls I always try because at least I know that that's different from what I'm using. So anyway, let's
cycle back here for a question. Which 4 are better for one-hand speed dominant righties on house? Excel, Origin, Equinox, Idle, Solid, Phase 2. In my opinion, the Idle Solid is the one that's out there. That's a great piece for rev dominant players, but for the rest of us, it gets a little smooth down lane. So
yeah, I mean, I could agree. I mean, like I think all of those balls have got a spot. Right. But yeah, definitely the Idle.
Idle Solid is the most wet dry of the bunch.
Especially if it's the Optimum Idle. If it's the original Idle, I could see that being like a little more useful.
Yeah.
Lower rev rate players like that a little bit.
So
yeah, okay. If it's the Optimum, then definitely. But like for me, I think if you're speed dominant, you bowl on house, you should be looking at the asymmetrical balls anyway. I don't really believe in symmetrical balls on the house shot when you've got a lot of speed.
So a cutoff on age of balls when using regional? Nope.
Just urethanes.
Just the national tour, right? Urethanes have to be the 78 hardness ones, but other than that, you can use anything.
Somebody said, is the XL being discontinued? Yes, unfortunately it is. Just as me and him have started to get along. But there will no doubt be another 4 or 5 options coming. So fear not. We have not been short of bowling balls for the last 3 or 4 years.
Not much for global. So
do y'all think the 40 is similar or very close to the Road Warrior? Interesting question. I didn't actually have a Road Warrior that was drilled anything other than weird, so I didn't even bring it down for the comparison, because the layout I had on the one that I had was so weird that it just wouldn't have been helpful. Yeah. But from my eyes and what I see, I think that the 40 is a little stronger than the Road Warrior. So yeah, I don't really know why. That's just the feels I get from it, that it's got like, it just feels like it's got a bigger footprint. It's a little bit more down lane, but anyway, let's throw this up and we can chat about it a little bit. I was actually, these first few shots when the ball is like super shiny, and I felt like it was one of those where it was not enough or too much. Like if I got it to pick up off the dry, it was a little harsh. So I just scraped over it just slightly with that, 2,000 pad, just to take just the top of the polish off it. And I did it so little you can't see it. Like it just is. And I thought once I did that, I felt like it gave me a much better motion, like much more continuous motion because it just picked up that little bit earlier. That one came off it pretty good. I've seen a couple of people talk about this being like a drier lane ball, like Brad and Kyle were talking about it being, and I understand that some of that is just they've got to get something for the thumbnail. I feel like this ball is quite a bit stronger than like a high road pearl. I think this Equinox cover, because it shares the cover with the Equinox, I've really liked that. I feel like I can manipulate my hand to make it continue as much or as little as I like. I'd pick this Wrecker because it's got really similar numbers. It's a little lower RG, but kind of similar.
And I feel like
I
that
actually
cover's pretty strong.
Yeah,
But
I
smooth.
actually felt like this would be stronger, but on this, it might have just been because it was burning up a little bit in the front. But overall, I found this to not really pick up as much. It just
I don't
was
think the
okay.
record is as sharp.
No,
as
for
some of
sure
the other
not.
balls
I mean,
in there. I think it's a nice for like league and thing. I think it's way more usable because it doesn't amplify the wet dry.
yes. I mean, High Road
But
40 is
it also doesn't hook as much.
Yeah, I mean, High Road 40 is definitely smoother than the numbers and the Pearl name would have you believe. I like the shape of it, but it definitely, like, for me, if we're talking about dry lane ball, the daddy on our options right now is the Typhoon. It's not even remotely close. And the Typhoon is 100% a dry lane ball because for me, when there's a decent amount of oil on the lane, it don't hook at all. Like,
They need to be
I mean, you saw it just then. It was just it just doesn't. You would think that it was burning up. It hooked so little, but it wasn't. It just was just so clean. And well, I'll say we, because I think a lot of the players got kind of a little bit like tricked by that ball. The first week we bowled in Jackson, and we bowled on a lot less oil than we did any other week. It was only 27 mils, I think. It was kind of a shorter pattern in a place where they have a lot of bowling. So the track is pretty good in Jackson as well. And that ball hooked miles in Jackson. And it's just, that's when you realize how much the balls burn up all of the time, even when you don't think they are. Because the fact of how much that ball hooked kind of, yeah. And then we went to the TOC and everybody's like, oh, this is stronger than the Road Warrior. And then it was like a fucking plastic ball for everybody except Darren Tang. Like, it just went straight through it. But Darren's rev rate is so high relative to his speed and rotation. He's got a lot of rotation for a two-hander. He was able to bowl with it, but like, yeah, like for me, Typhoon is our best. We'd been recommending those kind of hustle rips, hadn't we? And like the pearl hustles in the past.
Yeah.
Like at the bottom of the bag. For me, Typhoon is a little bit more useful, I think, for most people because it's got a little bit more flair. So I think you can be a little bit more versatile with the layouts and stuff. But I'm impressed by the Typhoon for the gap.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, he used it at the Players, didn't he? A lot of people used that ball that week though, but it was like later in the blocks that they were using it. Simo used it, Andrew used it. I used it quite a bit. I think Ryan also had it right in his bag at the Players.
He threw the Exponent a lot there.
Yeah.
Old. But
Belmo used it. Yeah, there was a decent amount of those Typhoons going down, and like some of that can be played off by that was the ball of the week. It was the new ball that week.
Yeah.
But still, I like it. Hey Christine, how does the Wrecker compare to the Revenant? I think Chris kind of hit the nail on the head. I think the Wrecker's got a much bigger footprint, so it's earlier and smoother than the Revenant. Revenant probably a little cleaner than this this High Road 40, but kind of more in that gap, I think. There you go. Typhoon isn't as strong as I expected. Agreed. Wrecker is absurdly stronger than I expected. I'm not sure mine's absurdly stronger, but yes, it definitely is a little stronger than. I don't know what that means, but beep beep.
Oh, we've had the RV trip. I rode with Dan, and so he had an alert warning on his vehicle, and so it also could not be shut off, or at least we didn't think so for quite some time. And so it turns out at 180 beeps per minute, by the number of minutes that we traveled, it was approximately 43,000 times that beep went off before we got to Las Vegas.
Okay.
That's how long it was on. We did the math.
I'm very thankful, because with it being an RV, I thought that might have been a $43,000 fix.
Also reasonable and to be determined.
It's probably like a tiny little fucking fuse that needs to be replaced.
It feels like it could be en route right now. Yeah. It's
see, these are the things you miss, Chris. These are the stories, the fun times that you have.
The stories, the experiences that make you appreciate the good times. That's what they are. They are. Linda was very thankful that it was not our RV at that time. Dan has handled it like a champ, and she did not feel like my temperament would have been well suited for the challenges that arose. A $2,200 fuel filter, yeah. Turns out
drop in the bucket. I mean, with the prize fund, with as much money added as to the senior masters, man, you only need to get to like third or fourth to get that back.
Yeah, the 2,200, right?
So your fuel filter was more than the added prize money of the fucking masters.
The super senior, we get a little. Sorry. Yeah, I don't know. Actually, I don't even know if we get any added money from the senior masters, but they get $1,500 for the super seniors. So
I saw that and I was like, oh God. It's one of those where it's almost better not to add it, because it just, yeah.
It just brings light to the fact that,
yeah,
it is backwards, because any added money is better than no added money.
Yes, but it almost feels like it's more of just a kick in the teeth.
Yeah. It is an event that didn't exist like 4 years ago either. So,
yeah, I mean, like I say, there's lots of things that like you can say and do, and I'll never understand the politics of everything. I know that it's a little rough for some of the seniors who feel like they've got a large proportion of the membership and they don't necessarily get anything for it. There's 25,000 in added money, so a nice little.
Okay.
And for Dan, he needs to get to 1316. I guess really he needs to get to 912 because he's already got his entry fee in there. So 912 pays you 3,000 there, Dan. Just keeping you up to date.
All right. Yeah. See if we kill each other.
You're not staying in the RV, are you?
No. I mean, we did one night while we were traveling, but okay. We're not imposing on their space quite like that. So
yeah, I was. I feel like Dan doesn't really have many worries in the world, so I don't think that Dan's going to be the one to want to kill anybody.
You're pretty level head, but as an ex college wrestler, I don't know that you necessarily want to see what the other side looks like.
Yeah. Oh boy. I have an XL, a Tour Dynamics, and a Lightning Blackout. Ooh.
There's a big gap between those two. They're kind of on top of each other and pretty strong ball.
Yeah. Like I feel like if you're talking about the Ion Pro Solid, I feel like it'll go in between your XL and the Tour Dynamics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That you've got a ball I really like, and then two balls that I don't like at all. Personally, Lightning Blackout was one of those balls that when I first got it, I thought that it was going to be one of those balls that was either going to be, oh my God, this is amazing, or I don't know when I'd ever use it. And for me personally, it turned into I don't know when I'd ever use it because the cover was just so much stronger than the hustles.
Yeah.
It was always too early when I needed to use a low flare ball, but it was too sideways to use to go straighter, which is what I'd want to use it as a stronger cover low flare ball.
I like the Tour Dynamics quite a bit in spots there. I can see that being pretty useful. I would take a little bigger step up in between those balls. I guess I haven't thrown the blue ion, so I'm not sure yet. But certainly, it looks stronger and would be a bridge in between there. But there's a lot of balls that are in between there would be a bridge.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
You guys watched the LBC National Championship Tournament qualifying. The guy was throwing the ball thumbless behind the back, and he had a 235 his last game clean. I saw the post. I didn't really watch that close, but
the thing is it's so difficult to do. Like Alan Smith can do it. I've seen him do it a couple of times. It's like his like, but this guy wasn't that skinny, and he was doing it like Alan Smith is like a rake. Like he is really skinny. Like he's skinny, whereas his waist is like significantly smaller than his inside leg type measurement. Like, and I was watching this guy, and I'm like, how are you that flexible?
he was a big dude, actually. Yeah, you think about it.
I mean, it was like I say, it falls into the holy shit, that's impressive. Holy shit, why? But I guess the amount of people who are talking about him, best maybe that's why. I don't know. I bet he can't change under USB-C rules back to bowling normal because it would be too big a change of delivery during.
Oh, probably right.
How do I get more high score in bowling? This is going to sound like I'm being a dickhead, and I'm really not. Make sure you always hit the pin that's closest to you. Whether that be on strikes or spares, like depending on where you're at right now, hitting the head pin 9 times a game almost always is going to improve your like score. Like you have to get to pretty much 200 before just making sure you hit the head pin isn't like it.
Tom Doherty says, "Hold my beer."
Yeah,
he did hit the head pin in front.
I get it,
for 100,
but that is definitely the exception rather than the rule. We actually have this debate semi often, like when the lanes are a little harder for us.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily use just hitting the head pin, but the amount of times I've bowled on something that wasn't super easy and been worried about carry, and that resulted in me just missing the pocket way more. And like I say it to Chris all the time, I said every now and again I take a deep breath and I go, Walter Ray is the greatest bowler of all time, or the most successful bowler of all time. And he didn't really give a shit about carry at all. Just hit the pocket. And there's a lot to be said for when the lanes aren't super easy. Just don't worry about like trying to help it. Like hit the pocket like 4 or 5 times in a row and then like reevaluate. Because the odds are you might have a double or a triple and you're like, man, I was making this way harder than I needed to. And I feel like that a little bit like when people first start, like they're trying to hook it or they're trying to do all these things. And it's just like, if you hit the head pin and you can improve your spares, you're probably going to do all right.
Yeah. Yeah, we found, this week's anomalies at the USBC Open Championships. We had a couple that snuck up on our team this year. It wasn't our group more than our team. But it turns out that good old team average isn't actually team average. So you can have a team average that's in a division, but with re-rates and different things that come in, if you have 3 of them that are above and 2 are below, that you're not in the below, you're actually in the above, even though your averages aren't. I'm not sure why it matters, but
yeah,
there we are. That one came up and bit one of the teams this year because one person got bumped up from a summer average or something and ended up being 6 pins higher than they were last year, or what they thought they were. So that was there. And then it's obvious why no one in the world cares about racks, because they don't at the national tournament particularly either. It's we had one pair that really wasn't very good. Brad, Angelo, we were on the other end, but he said they were terrible. And then, when the lanes are hard like they are a team, that's really frustrating. And then doubles singles, actually, when it's, like you say, 1,500 is a good score. Is the score you're trying to shoot. If
kind
the
of
rack's
need
not
every
good,
hit.
Yeah, you need every hit, and it's just the one place where the rack shouldn't ever be in question, in my opinion. Because if they're not going to hold the standard, then why would anyone else? So, super chat. Sorry, Eli. Good question. Do you think the bowler's journal pattern played similar to the doubles and singles? Yes, I did think it did. It has a little bit more hook over at All-Star lanes. Mm-hmm. Mostly just age of surface, but the gutter hooks a little bit more. The team practice, I felt like was pretty useless. The gutter did hook over there, like 1, 2, which admittedly not that many people can play anyway, but it was usable. But the track is so defined there. The middle of the lane was similar. It was really hard at All-Star lanes in the team practice versus the arena. But where we ended up playing at 7, 8, 9 was completely unplayable in the team practice because of the surface difference. And so
yeah, it felt like for Tina when she did that practice, because I just refuse to get involved with ever bowling. I don't bowl a team practice. I go down and watch the guys and like help them with their balls, because of course
mm-hmm.
they don't. A lot of our guys in the group don't necessarily get to bowl on sport patterns, so your balls don't necessarily, like in league, the order you go with them isn't necessarily the same as it would be in a tournament. So Tina was able to be in a little bit and just roll it off that track area. And when she went over to the other place, I mean, she was totally fucked. Like if she moved in, her ball didn't hook. And if she went up the lane, the ball, she couldn't throw it hard enough to keep it on line. So then it just duck hooked. And then if she got it from that, if she leaked it a little right, she just washed out.
The only person I mean looks somewhat similar, Linda had a pretty good look in both places.
Yeah.
She could play a little 10-11 with a rock star and feed it there the right way. And she could blend it out with her skill, with her tools. And she hit the pocket on both, way more than most did. Sure. I think she had one open for 640 as well. So.
Yeah, Tina definitely liked South Point a lot better than she liked Baton Rouge. And like just going back to that, I think that The big difference I see, I didn't bowl, but I watched a lot of guys bowl over there and I've watched the videos and stuff. I think the big difference you will see is that the front to back is kind of free at the Bowler's Journal. Like you've got way more miss with your speed. Like if you throw it a little fast, it's probably still going to be able to make the corner. Whereas I feel like in Baton Rouge, although the pattern is a little more forgiving than it was in Vegas, I still think it's harder. Like front to back is where you see the difference. I don't think you'll notice as much side to side. It's just you'll get away with speed misses way more at the Bowler's Journal than you will in Baton Rouge in the build out, whatever what do they call it? The Raising Cane Center.
Raising Cane Center, yeah.
Everybody's got jokes.
Yeah, some people we miss more than others. It's fun.
Yeah. I mean, I'm surprised he's not out there with you. He's got the hair for it. No, Mitch was able to shoot 3 279s because he bowled fucking great. Like, yeah, yep. I mean, Mitch likes to keep it in. Like, if I was to design a pattern for Mitch Hoope, the doubles and singles pattern would be pretty high on the list. Like, he likes to keep it in front of him. He rolls the piss out of it. Like, his rev rate's high. He's going to throw the pins around. It's an angle he likes to see with his eyes. Like, you know, he's got tug room. Mitch doesn't really miss right very often.
No.
So like I say, if I was designing a pattern, he was actually hooking it a little more than I kind of expected him to be honest, when I watched the videos. But yeah, if I was to design a pattern for Mitch Hoope, this would probably be pretty high on the list.
What do you do when the fronts are toast but the ball doesn't hook down lane? Loft is a option, but speed is mostly the, you have to be able to throw it slower and be able to get it chase to a part where there's less toast in the front, but then you have to adjust your speed so that it can hook down lane.
I feel like most times when you're seeing that, it's because your ball's burning up so bad in the front part of the lane. So, and it can, like, for example, for me, I had that motion with the Equinox, and it felt like it had to be just because there was too much oil, but it wasn't. It was just because the ball was grabbing in the front and then it just got on top of the oil and it just skids the whole way. Whereas if the ball hadn't like grabbed so early in the front part of the lane, it wouldn't get on top of the oil. It's almost like you need the oil in the front for your ball to be able to get on, like, into the lane rather than just sit on top of the oil. It feels like if the ball burns up in the front, it just feels like it sits on the oil rather than in the oil.
Yeah.
Is that kind of like a analogy that kind of you can kind of understand, where it just feels like it never gets any traction because it's just on top of the oil because it's already transitioned. It's really hard to see. And this is why I always recommend, when you feel like it's more for when you're changing lanes rather than staying on the same pair. But when you're bowling tournaments and you feel like you're using a fairly strong ball and it doesn't hook enough, I would always use a weaker ball first if it wasn't like game one. Because especially now with the way everything is in the world and how much oil they're putting on the lane and how beat up the front part of the lanes are, it's almost always because the ball burns up and then doesn't want to continue down the lane.
Yeah.
And of course, when you go to a stronger ball, it just burns up more. So then you're really screwed. Whereas if you go the weaker ball and you see it hook more, you immediately know, oh, I'm good. Yeah, that's tip of the day. So senior masters, you said it was 38 feet and 30 odd mils of oil.
Yeah, they're fairly high volume this year. Last year they went longer. They were trying to keep the scores down, and all they created was more hold. And so the scores actually went as high as they've been. This year went the other way. from the usual 39, 40 feet, deal that happens. And the gutter there's still plenty of play left to right. And I assume as they run and rerun that it'll get flatter and flatter and flatter. But there was some decent amount of hook on the gutter. So you could throw urethanes. Everybody could throw urethane. A squad practice, B squad a little less, and C squad, you had to be a little more on top of it. But reactive was fine too, because there was plenty of ratio at 7-8. So
did you all get to practice on fresh?
Yeah, everybody practiced on fresh.
Okay, because in the past it hasn't always been like that, and I didn't know whether they changed the seniors over or not, because that was always the dumbest thing for the Masters, wasn't it? When you used to run the 4 squads, and they were like, "Oh, you're on B squad, so you get to practice on whatever A squad left." Why? Right. Well, you're starting on the burn. Why? Like, what?
Yeah.
Amount of times I got in that situation, like 2 or 3 times it happened to me. Every time I just practiced on the other squad. I was like, fuck that. Like, so dumb. Like, but whatever. Right. So where are you going after that? Is it the US Open the week?
US Open in Colorado. Yeah. Great place. Highland Park, Highland Lanes in Greeley, Colorado. It's family-owned center. And Colorado in June, July is that's a pretty good place to be. So weather's great, good golf simulators in the bowling center. Actually have pretty good crowds considering, there's no reason to be inside at all that time of year there. But
yeah, that's nice.
It's a good location for it. So
yeah, it's nice. Like you guys, the ladies tour is a little similar, like where they don't necessarily go back every single year, but it's like maybe a 2 years out of 3 type of scenario.
Yeah.
And the senior tour, you go to a lot of the same places, so it's kind of nice.
Yeah, you have relationships with the proprietors and people, and
you're the event, because that's what happened in Cleveland, Yorktown Lanes. There's been like a huge support of the PWBA. Shout out! We're gonna give a couple of shout outs from the ladies.
Yeah, we are taking the RV again, at least part way. So,
yeah. You're such a bitch. Wei Fen winning back-to-back events.
Yeah.
So that was very cool for her. I think, I don't know if did you follow any of it, Chris?
I just saw the highlights
of the ladies.
Yeah.
So I think that we should take just a slight moment to give the Chris Barnes Award to Jordan Richard. Because she averaged about 14, I think it was about 10 or 12 pins a game more than everybody else and didn't win. She had 3 non-good frames in her step ladder match. And sorry, Jordan Snodgrass. Sorry, Frank. Yeah, I think she averaged 251 or 252 for the tournament. And she ended up bowling 244 in the step ladder, but she had a 9 miss. She missed the 2 pin. And I think she went double, and then she went spare, open, sheet. And Wei Fen was bowling 279. And I think she got a little bit like not really thinking perfectly and changed ball and almost big forward. She 410'd. So then she beat a 245, 244. So
didn't do the maths very well.
Yeah. Yeah, she went a little early with the ball change and got away with it. And so Jordan ended up bowling 244 while averaging 250 something. Lost.
Oh.
And then Diana came back on, and they transitioned the lanes quite a bit. So the advantage that Jordan was supposed to get, Wei Fen got, because like the only reason they were bowling second was because they were the number 1 seed. Like Jordan was the number 1 seed, and Diana came back on. The lanes were really difficult for her at that point. Wei Fen ended up coming out with the win, but yeah, Stephanie Zavala won the other tournament, so good week for Storm. I mean, most weeks are on the ladies tour. Most of the good players are on Storm, but yes, very impressive by Jordan to average that many for the event. Unfortunate she didn't come out with the win.
Yes. Well, guess we're going to get moving here. Thursday, I will be on A squad, so that does not work.
Nope. But that's fine.
And Nico's happy Stephanie's win. He was. I saw the highlights. She's
funny thing about that. That's the second. She's got 7 titles, I think, now, and 2 of them are on her birthday.
Wow.
She's won on her birthday twice.
That's crazy.
That's insane.
All right.
I thought that was unbelievable. Oh shit. Yeah. But just wild things you hear. I think but another shout out, Emil Williams does such a great job with the ladies tour. Like, he is exactly what you'd want for that. He has an intimate knowledge of like the ladies tour. Like he'll give you things that you would never know. Like, you know, he's talking about this pairing and they're like, well, these two, and it's 2 people who you don't really know very well. Oh, they're actually roommates, you know, and saying why they're, you know, they might bowl well today because they're both comfortable, and sure enough, they, you know, they have a good day or whatever. And like, he remembers a lot of the you know, the details of like this one about Stephanie winning on her birthday, and it's just it's very cool. So I do appreciate his insights while watching. It does make it kind of interesting for sure. All right, well, I'll let you get out of here, Christopher.
All right. Yep. Linda's going to sub over at the women's championships for doubles and singles today. And so,
Tina's bowling at 4, so you might see her in the crossover.
Probably not. I'll be over at I bowl at 4. So Linda might.
I was about to say Linda might see her, because I imagine the doubles and singles is before their team.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. Well, in any event, as usual, in between now and the next time I see you in August, please support the sponsors that support us. Storm, Roto Grip, Niner Global, Cool Wake Bowler Smart, Fire Lake Bowling Center, Lightning Strikes, and Platinum Ford. Till next time, stay safe, stay healthy. Bless.
See you later. Thank you.